to do a 3-part video series in which I will change the way that you look at politics, the economy, and conspiracy theories. And over the course of these 3 videos, I'm going to present evidence, the implication with which you may not agree, with which you may find offensive. And the only thing that I ask is that you do not shoot the messenger. What I have to present to you over these 3 videos is absolute evidence. These are absolute hard figures and facts. And of course, every time I make such a statement, there's always going to be source trolls coming up saying, "Where's your sources? I need to see your sources so I can Wikipedia them." I have 2 sources for you: U.S. history and the Dow Jones. I want to answer the question that is always posed by the leftist liberal media. Are Republicans bad for the economy? Unfortunately, sadly, at least when it comes to the capital markets, the stock market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, yes, Republicans are terrible for the markets. Let's look at some hard figures. Looking at data going back all the way to 1900, when you compare the average performance of the Dow Jones Industrial Average under Republican rule and under Democratic rule, the differences are stark. In the first quarter after an election, Democrats produce a 7% gain on average historically on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Republicans, on the other hand, in the first quarter after that election, they are down in the Dow by minus 0.74%. 2 quarters after the election, Democrats are up nearly 15%, whereas Republicans are below 1%. 3 quarters after an election, Democrats are up 16% in the Dow. Republicans are down minus 0.16%. And in the year after election, Democrats are up nearly 20%. Republicans, on the other hand, are up barely over 1%. Essentially, in terms of the Dow Jones, they have gone nowhere. These are absolutely stunning differences. And then when you look at the total term, the total administration, the total length of the administration, on average, Democrats produce nearly an 83% gain in the Dow Jones. Republicans are just under 45%. Democrats, basically, when they become elected president, historically, on average, they're almost twice as better when it comes to producing value in the stock market. Of course, there are many counter arguments to this that can be presented, and one of them is that maybe Republicans, they just happen to be elected in very bad years for the stock market, and Democrats, they just have, for some reason, they're just very fortunate. But that kind of argument doesn't really pan out. I mean, clearly there is something more at play here than just dumb luck. I mean, look at these differentials. These are huge, absolutely huge differentials. You can't explain the differential simply on the basis of good fortune. And also, there's another thing at play here. Democrats typically have to contend with a lot more challenges. Democrats, in the quarter before the election, the Dow is actually down minus 3.36% on average, historically speaking. On the other hand, Republicans, a quarter before the election, the Dow Jones is actually up 2.4%, meaning that Republicans, when they get elected to office, they are typically riding the positive momentum of the Dow Jones, whereas Democrats are typically seeing the opposite effect. They are seeing the inverse effect. They view the Dow Jones historically as a headwind, not as a tailwind. And yet they produce dramatically different results. Again, on average, when you look at the total length of an administration, Democrats are up 83% in the Dow. Republicans are only up 45% in the Dow Jones. What can possibly explain this? Here's another thing that you want to consider. Every single Democrat has, over the course of their entire administration, every single Democratic president has produced gains in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, including Jimmy Carter. Republicans, on the other hand, it's a much different story, obviously, as you can tell. Republicans, there have been 4 Republicans that have produced negative gains, that have produced losses, loss of return in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. They are Taft, Hoover, Nixon, and George W. Bush. Interestingly, if we were to take away the 3 worst Republican presidents, that would be Bush, Nixon, and Hoover. If we were to take away the losses that they incurred on the Dow Jones, guess what? The Republican average would still not beat the Democratic average. Even with giving the Republicans this arbitrary advantage, the Democrats would still be up in terms of the Dow Jones performance. That's crazy. I mean, that's stunning. We're just talking about literally taking away the biggest, worst performance of Republican presidents, and it still wouldn't meet, and it certainly does not exceed the performance of the Democrats. So no, there's something much more at play here besides dumb luck. What is it? What is it that makes Democrats so great? At least when it comes to the Dow Jones and the stock market. What is it about Democrats? What is the secret sauce that Democrats use to produce gains in the Dow? That, my friends, will be the topic for the next video.